Good morning everybody, it's Tonic TZW and I'm here with the second game that I played in the Scharnhorst B. The video is entitled The Dark Horse and I'm in division just with Andy this time, Solitary Saturn 0. He is in the North Carolina. The map is Ring, it's domination game mode, which means we gotta play for caps, and in battleships that isn't always the easiest thing to do. Now to start with, we just sit and hold tight because we need to know, is there a strong side, is there a weak side, and where do we need to be. I have AP loaded because I think there's going to be a destroyer come rushing in and get spotted, but instead it's two North Carolinas. And so we decide we may as well use that HE and let's try and get some fires on these guys where they're giving us a big broadside, because I'm not sure what my AP would do at that range because it's quite small caliber guns, but we do have quite a decent reload time on them. So we are going to back up from the center of the map just so we can get shots onto these guys and keep them spotted, whilst trying to use the islands to our front to give us a bit of cover from anything that has spawned on the red team home cap. The unusual thing here is that these two North Carolinas are in division, yet one has pushed very hard and one has chosen to hang right back. Red team destroyer gets spotted. Our destroyer appears to be in a smokescreen, but he's taken a lot of fire, so the only thing I can think is that the T-61 is running him down with his sonar on, because that's what I would do. As we've got HE loaded, we decided to try and slap some shots off at him, and he disappears from sight because our destroyer gets himself killed. We do get an incapacitation and a cap reset, and just as we're waiting for a reload to finish that North Carolina, somebody picks up the kill. So that could have potentially been kill number one for us. We immediately switch our fire across to the other North Carolina. Andy's been taking some HE, I'm taking some HE, and so we decide we need to push forward to get those islands off to our 2 o'clock onto our flank and push in and try and remove this destroyer from the map. But not before we get some parting shots in on the other Scharnhorst. So we get some shots off at him. We're going to show a bit of skirt as we swing around and just hope that those guys haven't got anything loaded to put at us, because we are spotted, and if we stayed here we would likely remain spotted by that T-61. But that isn't to say that we can't get shots off at anything while we are turning and while we are moving. So that North Carolina that is backing up from the island is going to continue to get some HE spammed at him until such time as we spot this little guy in front of us. Now, I don't know whether he didn't know that we were coming, but he was going full steam ahead there, and then all of a sudden he slammed it straight into reverse. But it takes a little while for me to notice that. But we get the shots out, we're doing the damage. Right about now, as I get those shots in, the Graf Spey, I think, picks up this kill, which is another one off the board. We're still even Stevens on the ships with 2 ships down apiece. The North Carolina still out there hugging his island, so we know that he has damage controlled the fire or let it burn out already, so we're going to stick another one on him, and we're going to keep doing that with that guy. I know it's annoying, I hate it happening to me, I know everybody else hates it happening to them, and everybody keeps saying, why are you shooting HE at a battleship? Well, at this angle, all I'm going to do with AP is bounce shots off them. Right here, Andy gets a little bit too overconfident, but it was late at night and he'd had a few cans of lager, and I think he thought that he was going to get a big push. But I'm telling him to hit the brakes and back up, because I don't think he realises that there are 2 ships on his left flank, and he's going to put himself in a crossfire. That Flint has already banged some torps out. He gets to turn in. He's already burned once. I've still got HE loaded. Andy takes a good chunk of health off him. I fire my HE. We get him on fire again, and he's going to sail behind the island, and that kill is going to be taken off us as well. So that's potentially probably 2 or 3 kills that we could have had at the start of this game, but each one of them has been whipped away from under our noses. Now Andy's in a spot of bother here, because he's got 2 ships on his left, he's got 1 ship on his right, and he can't angle to all of them. So I'm telling him to hit the brakes to back up. I'm going to pull forward so I'm in will to rebuild range, just to give him enough of a chance to get that done. I think the North Carolina is the biggest risk there to Andy, so I'm just going to stay focused on him. We'll get a fire on him. We notice that he puts it straight out, so we're waiting for the reload, and we're going to keep focusing on him, because one more fire will probably see him burn out. Takes Andy a while to slow down in that North Carolina, but he eventually does back up into will to rebuild range, and I'm staying focused on that North Carolina just to try and keep him off Andy's case a little bit. But the Leander comes down broadside, and although I tell Andy to turn back towards me, I think he gets his left and right mixed up, and he starts turning in the opposite direction. But we get a hit and a fire on the Leander. Andy gets a salvo off at him. I've switched to AP because this guy is just staying broadside to me, and for his bravery and his stupidity, he receives a direct delivery to his citadel and disappears back to port. In the next salvo, perhaps. I thought it was that one. It obviously wasn't. But yes, he continues to be brave and stupid and sail broadside until I get my reload, and then I fire, and he takes a citadel. There we go. I was just a little bit ahead of my time. Now this North Carolina is coming barreling in again, and I'm thinking, oh hell, let's back out of here. There is another battleship there with Andy that he's getting will to rebuild off. I'm also in will to rebuild range, but that doesn't matter. The Graf gets a torp on the North Carolina, and he appears to be flooding still. And I'm thinking, well, where there's a flood, there's a fire. So let's try and get something onto him now, because if he's repaired all that, he really, truly, absolutely, please, for the love of God in this game, let me get a fire on him, and don't let this man survive. And there we go. So sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. Both Andy and that Graf are getting absolutely pounded. In all the excitement, I've forgotten that we have got control of 3 of the caps. But we keep pounding on North Carolina, all the while watching our flank. I'm worried that Helena's going to try and come and squeeze through that gap, so I put my torpedoes out there just to keep him on his toes. I'm looking back at the North Carolina as he ticks out on damage. Now we could push round, but the Graf, I think, is going to die, or has just died, and Andy is very low health, and as I'm trying to get forward gear and engaged to turn and run into him and try and keep him alive, sadly he drops off the map too. Now the last battleship, and I can't remember what it is, I think it's another North Carolina on our team, is left a cap, come through the centre, and has now sort of headed in my direction. We are ahead on caps and points, and he's screaming at me to get back, and I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to sail straight forward into those two, am I? And I turn around and I head away, but I'm spotted by those planes, and that's friggin' annoying. And in my haste, I fail to notice that there's a wreck in front of me. I can't remember if it's Andy or if it's a Graf. It looks like the North Carolina with the stars and stripes camo on it. And yeah, I spend a little bit of time parked here looking like an absolute complete fool, and hoping to God that there isn't a full salvo of armor piercing ammunition coming across the top of that hill for me. But just like what shall I say? Just like the iceberg that sunk the Titanic, Andy goes down finally, lets me pass, and I start swinging it round to give myself some cover from those islands again. Now, while I appreciate that this guy has come all the way across here to help me, what he has done is left the other side of the map wide open. And given the fact that the difference in speeds between the two ships left on red team, my guess is that it's the Helena that has gone running across to that cap, and he's going to try to pull some points back for them. Now I can't see him because that plane's got me spotted, so he's just lobbing some shots across the top at me. He double fires me. In fact, it's a double fire or single fire? Nope, that's a double fire, isn't it? I take some shots off the North Carolina 2, and then I get wailed on by the Helena again. He briefly appears and I get some shots off, but I think I'm generally safe now. So I land one on him, but he has turned that cap now. So North Carolina has a plane up, the Helena has a plane up. I'm now wanting to push as hard as I can back across the map, and hopefully not leave myself too vulnerable to these two ships. The Helena I'm not so worried about. He can light me on fire, I can afford to burn, I've got heals, it won't be too long, and I've got a damage control and a heal to come up to me. Now, seeing where the two planes are gives me an indication as to where the two ships are. So I'm sailing close to the island so they can't drop shots across the top at me. And I've also got my guns trained on where I expect them to be. Scharnhorst is quite a fast ship, so I'm feeling that I can cover this distance a lot quicker than they think I can. But I'm still keeping my guns trained, locking them when I need to have a look around. And the good thing is, I don't feel like, apart from this North Carolina that's on my right here, I don't think this Helena provides, too much of a risk to me as I push for this cap. He may be able to spot me, he may be able to ram me, but if he does either of those, especially the ram, it's still going to be a 1v1, and I think we still have the home advantage. In fact, I was calling that ship a North Carolina all this time. It's a Tennessee. But we put some shots off at that Tennessee, who's still parked behind the mountain, and I did notice that his guns were looking in completely the other direction. So now I feel a bit safer crossing this little gap in front of me, because I'm sure his guns are going to be looking in the opposite direction, which they are. So as we pop across here, we're back onto the cap, and we get another couple of shots back across at him as he's trying to kite away. Now, whether or not he's running us for survival, but by the same measure, he could have pushed into that other battleship that we've got left on that side of the map. Playing smart, playing safe. I'm trying to keep it close to this island. The fact that that spotter plane's there means the Helena is right beside me. And somebody who doesn't know about detection ranges, because at 3Ks he's picked up, I think he's going to run straight out at me, but then I remembered that he's been running his sonar, which is how he detected me. But in doing that, detecting me using his sonar, he also let me know that he is very, very, very close. I pump 3 turrets into him, I get my secondaries on the go. He may be able to set me on fire here, but we clatter him with another fast reload. We are burning, our secondaries pick him up, and then all I'm going to do is park right against this rock here, pop my damage control, pop my heal, and make sure that I am safe from anything as the clock starts to tick down through the final minutes. We're on 111,000 damage. We've got a high caliber and Confederate in the second game, but this time we also pick up the close quarters close quarters expert badge from that Helena who decided to try and YOLO us. I don't know what was going through his mind apart from about 12 AP shells and a load of secondaries, but hey, there you go. So that is the result. As I said, 111,000, high cal, close quarters expert, Confederate badge, a couple of citadels, 3 kills. Could have been more, I think. I think we could have had a 5, could have had a 6-pack there. But we are top of the board with just over 2,500 base XP. Here endeth the video for today. If you have enjoyed it, please hit the like button. If it's your first time past the channel, or if it's your second time past the channel and you still haven't subscribed, please do hit the subscribe button. There'll be plenty more content coming up over the next weeks. We've got a new campaign coming, so take care and I'll see you next time.